Today is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. Prayer for God's protection over your family in 2026. Don't scroll. Listen to this carefully, because this message is for you, and your heart needs this right now more than you realize. Something guided you here at this exact moment, not by chance, not by accident, but by divine timing. And before your mind questions it, let your spirit receive it, because heaven is speaking softly yet powerfully today, and God is saying that 2026 is not going to look like the years you barely survived, the years you held your breath hoping nothing would fall apart, the years you stayed awake at night worrying about your family's safety, their future, their health, their peace. No, this year is different, and this Wednesday, January 21st, 2026, marks the moment where protection is being activated over your household in ways you cannot see yet but will soon feel everywhere. God knows the fear you never admitted out loud, the silent anxiety you carried when your phone rang late at night, the thoughts that crossed your mind when someone you love walked out the door and you whispered, "Please let them come back safe." And today he says, "I heard every word, even the ones you didn't say." Because there have been spiritual battles around your family that you sensed but couldn't explain, moments when something felt off, moments when you felt the urge to pray harder. Cleanse your space, trust your intuition, and that wasn't imagination, that was divine awareness awakening inside you. Listen closely, because angels have already been dispatched on assignment over your bloodline, standing guard over your home, your children, your parents, your partner. Even the people you worry about but can't control, and what was meant to harm, disrupt, divide, or destroy your family will not succeed in 2026, not because you are lucky, but because you are covered. Lately, you may have noticed signs, repeating numbers like 1111 showing up when you're deep in thought, 444 when you're worried, 222 when you're questioning relationships. Sudden waves of calm in moments where panic should have taken over. And those were not coincidences. Those were confirmations from the universe saying, protection is near, help is closer than you think. And God wants you to know that the reason you've been feeling emotionally sensitive, reflective, even nostalgic lately is because a spiritual shift is happening in your family line. One that breaks cycles of fear, loss, instability, and generational trauma. Someone listening right now has been the emotional shield for everyone else, the one who holds it together, the one who absorbs stress so others don't have to, the one who prays quietly and keeps going even when exhausted. And God is saying, you don't have to carry this alone anymore. Because in 2026, divine protection is not just about safety from danger, it's about peace returning to your home, conversations softening, misunderstandings dissolving, hearts healing, and unity being restored where distance once lived. There is also a message here about love, real love, protected love. Because if you've been asking God for a soulmate connection that feels safe instead of chaotic, calm instead of confusing, and divinely aligned instead of emotionally draining, know that protection over your family also includes protection over your heart, meaning that this year, relationships that are not meant to last will gently fall away, while the ones meant to grow will be surrounded by clarity, trust, and emotional security. Pay attention now, because this is important. There will be moments in 2026 when things almost go wrong but don't, moments where delays save you, reroutes protect you, and unanswered calls turn out to be blessings. And later you'll look back and realize how close something came and how divinely it was blocked. Because God is rearranging schedules, altering paths, and shifting timing behind the scenes to keep your family safe. Even when you don't understand why plans change suddenly. If you've felt a strange mix of anticipation and emotional release lately, like something heavy is lifting but something big is approaching, that's because your spirit already knows what your mind hasn't caught up to yet. that a new chapter of covering has begun, one where fear no longer has the final word, where anxiety loses its grip, and where peace slowly but surely becomes the new normal in your home. Stay with me, because this is only the opening of what God is revealing today, and the next part of this message will explain exactly how this protection will show up, who it will impact the most in your family, and why you were chosen to hear this first. But for now, receive this truth deep in your soul. Your family is not vulnerable. They are watched over, guided, and guarded. And what's coming next will confirm everything you're feeling right now. Listen carefully and don't scroll, because what you're about to hear explains why things in your life have felt delayed, interrupted, or strangely paused lately, and why those pauses were never punishment, but protection. Because in 2026 God is not just shielding your family from visible danger, He is actively removing unseen threats before they ever reach your door. And this is the part most people don't realize until later, when they look back and understand that the missed opportunity, the cancelled plan, the sudden change of direction was actually divine intervention. Someone listening right now is frustrated over a door that wouldn't open last year. A move that didn't happen, a relationship that didn't progress, a job that slipped away, and God says, "If you knew what I was blocking, you would thank me for every delay." Because there were environments you almost stepped into that would have drained your peace, connections that looked promising but carried hidden instability, and decisions that would have exposed your family to unnecessary stress, conflict, or danger. And in 2026, heaven is rewriting the narrative by placing divine checkpoints along your path, stopping what doesn't belong and fast-tracking what does. Pay attention to the spiritual signs around you now, because the universe is communicating loudly through subtle means. Dreams that feel prophetic, sudden urges to call or check on someone, moments where you feel strongly guided to pray at odd hours, and repeating angel numbers appearing when you're thinking about your family, especially 444 and 555, signaling that protection and change are actively unfolding. This year, God's protection over your family will show up in emotional ways first, meaning peace will arrive before proof does, calm will settle and before circumstances change, and you'll find yourself responding differently to situations that once triggered fear, because divine covering doesn't always remove the storm immediately, but it strengthens the foundation so the storm cannot destroy what's inside. There is also something very personal being addressed in this season, generational patterns that quietly threatened your family for years, patterns of loss, emotional distance, financial instability, or broken trust. And God is saying that 2026 is the year those cycles lose their power, because protection doesn't just guard the present, it heals the past and secures the future, and you are the one chosen to stand at this turning point. Even if you didn't feel ready, even if you felt tired, even if you questioned whether your prayers were strong enough. Listen closely now, because this next part is critical. There are specific members of your family who will experience sudden shifts this year, shifts in mindset, health, direction, and emotional clarity, and it will feel unexpected but divinely timed, and what once worried you about them will slowly begin to ease, not all at once, but enough for you to breathe again, enough for you to trust again. Because angels are actively surrounding situations you've surrendered to God after realizing you couldn't control them. Someone listening right now has been asking God for a sign regarding love and protection combined, wondering if it's possible to have a relationship that feels safe, spiritually aligned, and emotionally steady. And the answer is yes, but only because God is removing chaos first, and in 2026, the love meant for you will not feel like anxiety or confusion, it will feel like peace, familiarity, and emotional security. And this protection extends to soulmate connections that are divinely guarded from interference, miscommunication, and emotional harm. Don't ignore this next sign. when you start noticing small blessings stacking up, close calls that end in relief, conversations that bring unexpected clarity, and a sense that things are quietly working out behind the scenes, understand that this is confirmation that the protection is active, even when life still feels uncertain. Because God often moves silently before He moves suddenly. There will be a moment this year when you realize something didn't go wrong the way it used to, and that realization will bring tears to your eyes, not because of fear, but because of gratitude. Because you'll see how carefully your family has been carried through situations that once would have shaken you, and that moment will change the way you trust forever. Stay with this message, because what's coming in part 3 will reveal the emotional breakthrough tied to this protection and the specific spiritual awakening unfolding in your household right now. And once you hear it, everything you've been sensing lately will finally make sense. Don't scroll, stay right here, because this is the part where everything you've been feeling but couldn't explain finally comes into focus. And if your chest feels tight or your eyes feel heavy right now, that's not coincidence. That's recognition, because God is speaking directly to the emotional core of your life in this season. And in 2026, the protection over your family is unlocking something even deeper than safety. It's unlocking healing, awareness, and a spiritual awakening that begins quietly but transforms everything. For a long time, your home may have felt heavy in ways you couldn't fully name. Unspoken tension, emotional distance, unresolved pain, conversations avoided because they felt too fragile to touch. And God says, I'm not just guarding your family from harm, I'm restoring what fear stole. Because protection without healing still leaves wounds, and this year, God is doing both at the same time. Listen carefully, because someone in your family who has been emotionally shut down, withdrawn, or misunderstood is about to open up in a way that surprises you, not through force, not through confrontation, but through divine softening of the heart. And when it happens, it will feel like a wall finally cracking after years of silence, bringing relief you didn't know you were holding your breath for. You may notice sudden moments of honesty, vulnerability, or emotional clarity appearing out of nowhere. Late-night conversations, unexpected apologies, confessions that feel long overdue. And those moments are not random. They are signs that spiritual protection is making it safe for truth to surface. Because when God covers a home, He makes it safe for hearts to come out of hiding. Pay attention to your dreams in this season, because many of you will receive emotional revelations while you sleep. Dreams of reconciliation, of family members smiling, of being back in places from the past but feeling different this time. And these are messages from your subconscious and your spirit aligning, signaling that old emotional cycles are closing and new ones are beginning. There is also a deep awakening happening within you, and this is important, because you are the emotional and spiritual anchor for your family whether you realize it or not, and lately you may have felt more sensitive, more reflective, more aware of energy, words, and emotional undercurrents, and that's because God is sharpening your discernment, teaching you when to speak, when to stay silent, when to pray, and when to simply trust. And this awareness is part of the protection, because you can't guard what you can't sense. Someone listening right now has been questioning their role in their family, wondering why they always feel responsible, why they always seem to be the one who worries the most, loves the hardest, and prays the longest. And God is saying, I placed you there on purpose, not to burden you, but to position you as a bridge between what was and what's coming. Because your growth is directly tied to your family's peace. This is also where soulmate energy intersects with family protection, because in 2026, God is aligning relationships that support your emotional healing instead of triggering your wounds. And if you've been single, know that the delay was not rejection, it was refinement, and the love coming into your life will feel emotionally safe, spiritually familiar, and deeply grounding. Like home rather than chaos. Because protection over your family includes protection over who has access to your heart. Watch for the signs now, because angel numbers will intensify during moments of emotional clarity. 111 when you're starting fresh emotionally, 222 when relationships are aligning, 777 when divine reassurance is near. And each appearance is a reminder that you are not imagining the shift, it is real and it is unfolding. There will be a moment this year when you realize you are no longer reacting the way you used to, no longer bracing for the worst, no longer waiting for something to go wrong. And that realization will hit you quietly, maybe while driving, maybe while praying, maybe while watching your family laugh, and you'll feel a deep emotional release, because that's when you'll understand that protection has changed you from the inside out. God is also restoring emotional trust in your home, meaning misunderstandings won't escalate the way they once did, small issues won't turn into major conflicts, and patience will replace defensiveness. And this doesn't mean perfection, it means progress, steady and sustainable. If you've been feeling called to clean, rearrange, light candles, pray aloud, or create peaceful routines lately, that's your intuition responding to spiritual alignment, because as protection increases, so does the desire for emotional harmony, and your home is becoming a place of refuge again, not just a place of survival. Stay with me, because part 4 will reveal the specific moments in 2026 where this protection will be tested, and how God ensures your family comes through stronger, closer, and more united than ever before. And once you hear that, you'll understand why everything you've endured was preparing you for what's about to unfold. Stay right here and don't scroll, because this is the part most people never talk about. The moments when protection is proven, not by ease, but by endurance. And if you've ever wondered why God allows certain pressures even after He promises covering, this is your answer. Because in 2026, your family's protection will be tested not to break you, but to reveal how strong the covering truly is. And there will be specific moments this year when it feels like things are about to unravel, when old fears resurface, when situations mirror past struggles just enough to trigger your anxiety. And in those moments, God will whisper, "Watch what I do now." Because this time, the outcome will be different. Someone listening right now has been afraid that history might repeat itself. Another loss, another breakdown, another season of instability. But hear this clearly. What happened before will not happen again. Because you are not the same person and this is not the same season, and God has already rewritten the ending. There will be a moment in 2026 when news comes suddenly, a call, a message, a situation that demands immediate attention, and your heart will try to panic out of habit, but something inside you will remain calm, anchored, steady, and that calm is not denial, it's divine assurance. Because protection doesn't always remove urgency, it removes fear's authority. Watch closely during those moments, because you'll notice help arriving faster than expected, clarity showing up right when confusion tries to take over, and solutions appearing before problems fully form. And that's when you realize angels are actively intervening, arranging timing, influencing decisions, and redirecting outcomes in real time. There will also be moments when your faith is quietly tested through relationships. Misunderstandings that could escalate but don't, conflicts that could divide but instead lead to honest conversation, and choices where silence becomes wiser than reaction. And every time you choose peace over panic, trust over control, you strengthen the protection over your family even more. Someone listening right now is worried about a specific family member. Someone who tends to take risks, make impulsive decisions, or walk close to danger, and God says, "I have my hand on them." Even when you can't be there, even when you don't know what they're doing, because divine protection works beyond your reach and outside your awareness. And in 2026, close calls will turn into testimonies, lessons will replace losses, and mercy will intervene where judgment once seemed inevitable. Pay attention to the timing of things this year, because protection will often show up disguised as inconvenience. Traffic delays that keep someone from being in the wrong place, canceled plans that feel disappointing but later reveal their purpose, and reroutes that seem frustrating until you realize what they saved you from. And when these things happen, resist the urge to complain, because you're witnessing divine interception in action. There will be emotional tests too, moments when old wounds try to reopen, when past words echo in your mind, when you're tempted to withdraw or shut down, and God will gently guide you back to trust, reminding you that healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means choosing not to live there anymore. And each time you do, the emotional atmosphere in your home becomes lighter, safer, more grounded. This is also where soulmate alignment is protected, because in 2026, any connection meant to last will be tested by honesty, patience, and emotional maturity, not drama or confusion. And if someone cannot meet you in peace, they will slowly fade, not painfully, not chaotically, but naturally, because protection removes what threatens your emotional stability without forcing you to fight for it. Watch for angel numbers during stressful moments, because they will appear as reassurance. 333 when divine support is near, 444 when protection is active, 888 when balance is being restored, and each appearance is heaven's way of saying, you're not alone in this moment, even when it feels heavy. There will come a day this year when you realize something should have gone wrong but didn't, something that once would have spiraled instead resolved quietly. And that realization will stop you in your tracks, because it will confirm that God's promises are not just words, they are living, active forces shaping your reality. Someone listening right now has been asking God, how will I know my family is truly safe? And the answer is this. You'll know because fear will lose its grip, because peace will stay even when circumstances aren't perfect, and because your reactions will change before your situation does. Stay with me, because part 5 will reveal the blessings and unexpected breakthroughs that flow because of this protection, including financial relief, restored joy, and a powerful confirmation that 2026 is not just a guarded year, but a rewarded one. And when you hear that, you'll understand why holding on through the tests mattered more than you ever knew. Stay with me and don't scroll, because this is the part where protection turns into provision, where guarding turns into rewarding, and where God shows you that what He saved you from was only the beginning of what He was preparing for you, because in 2026, the protection over your family does not end with safety. It opens the door to unexpected blessings that arrive quietly at first, and then all at once, and if you've been wondering when. Relief is coming, when things finally ease, when joy stops feeling temporary. This is your confirmation that the shift you've been sensing is real. God never protects without purpose, and the reason He shielded your family through delays, detours, and close calls is because He was preserving you for a season where peace and abundance can actually stay. And this year, you will notice that things begin to flow more smoothly. Finances stabilize where they once felt unpredictable, opportunities appear without forcing them, and burdens that felt heavy for years suddenly feel lighter, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer carrying what was never meant for you. Someone listening right now has been praying quietly for financial breathing room, not riches, just stability, just enough to stop worrying every month, and God says, I heard that prayer. Because in 2026, provision will arrive in ways that feel aligned rather than stressful, through the right opportunities, the right timing, the right support, and protection will ensure that what comes in is not drained by chaos or crisis like before. Watch closely, because blessings this year will often come disguised as alignment, meeting the right people at the right time, having conversations that open doors unexpectedly, receiving help without having to beg for it, and realizing that you're finally in rooms that feel safe, supportive, and meant for you, because protection not only keeps danger out, it brings the right connections in. There is also a return of joy happening in your household, the kind of joy that doesn't feel forced or fragile, but natural and steady, where laughter comes easier, where moments feel lighter, and where you catch yourself smiling without realizing it. And that joy is not random, it's a byproduct of peace, because when fear leaves a home, joy has space to grow. Someone listening right now thought they lost their spark, their hope, their ability to feel excited about the future. But in 2026, you will rediscover parts of yourself you thought were gone forever. Because protection gives you permission to dream again without bracing for disappointment. This is also where soulmate blessings deepen, because relationships aligned under divine protection will begin to feel more secure, more intentional, and more emotionally fulfilling. And if you've already found your partner, you'll notice a strengthening of trust, teamwork, and mutual understanding. While if you're still waiting, know that the love meant for you is being prepared in a protected space, free from interference, confusion, and emotional harm. And when it arrives, it will feel peaceful, not overwhelming. Pay attention to the signs during moments of gratitude, because angel numbers will appear as confirmations of blessing. 888 signaling abundance flowing, 111 marking new beginnings that feel safe, 777 reminding you that divine favor is active, and every time you see them, it's heaven saying, "Yes, this is what we were protecting you for." There will be a moment this year when you realize you're no longer living in survival mode, no longer planning for worst-case scenarios, no longer expecting things to fall apart, and that realization will bring emotional release, because it means your nervous system, your spirit, and your home are finally resting, and rest is a blessing many people underestimate. God is also restoring your confidence in your own decisions, because protection doesn't mean removing choice, it means guiding it. And in 2026, you'll notice that your intuition becomes sharper, your discernment clearer, and your confidence steadier, allowing you to make choices without second-guessing everything, and that clarity will positively impact your family's future in lasting ways. Someone listening right now is about to receive a confirmation that makes them say, "So that's why it had to happen that way." Because hindsight will reveal how perfectly things were arranged, how every delay led to alignment, and how every protection created space for blessing. Don't rush past this season, because blessings that arrive under divine protection are meant to be savored, shared, and stewarded wisely, not feared or questioned. And as you begin to enjoy what God is giving you, your testimony will quietly inspire others who are still in the waiting. Stay with me, because part 6, the final part, will reveal the lasting promise over your family beyond 2026 and the powerful declaration you need to speak to seal this protection permanently. And when you hear it, you'll understand that this year was never just about safety, it was about destiny. Stay right here and don't scroll, because this is the moment where everything comes together, where protection becomes permanent, where fear finally loses its voice, and where God asks you to agree with what He has already decided for your family. Because 2026 is not just a protected year, it is a turning point written into your destiny, and what you declare now matters more than you realize. Listen closely, because God is saying that the covering placed over your family is not temporary, not seasonal, and not conditional on perfection. It is covenant protection, the kind that follows you when you don't see it, stands guard when you're tired, and speaks on your behalf when you don't have the words. And this is why you were led through every part of this message, because your spirit needed to hear it fully before it could settle deeply. There are people listening right now who have lived most of their lives bracing for loss, expecting disappointment, preparing for worst-case scenarios, and God says, that way of living ends here. Because protection is not meant to keep you anxious, it's meant to set you free. And in 2026, your family will live under a new rhythm, one where peace becomes familiar, safety feels natural, and trust replaces tension. This is the year where generational fear breaks, where you no longer pass down worry disguised as love, where your children, your loved ones, and even you begin to experience life without constant emotional armor, because divine protection creates emotional safety, not just physical security. Hear this clearly now. What God is doing for your family will outlast 2026, because this year is a foundation year, a year where boundaries are set in the spirit, where access is limited, where what doesn't belong cannot enter, and where what is meant for you is finally allowed to stay. And once that foundation is laid, nothing that comes later can shake it easily. Someone listening right now has been afraid to fully relax, afraid to enjoy blessings because they feared they could be taken away, and God is saying, rest, because the protection over your family is not fragile, it is fortified, and what comes next is meant to grow, not disappear. This is also the moment where love is sealed under protection, because soulmate connections aligned by God are not just emotional experiences, they are partnerships guarded by peace. And whether you are already walking beside that person or still preparing to meet them, know this. The love meant for you will not threaten your stability, your family, or your faith. It will support it, strengthen it, and grow alongside it, because protection ensures that love adds to your life instead of draining it. Pay attention now to the final signs, because angel numbers will appear as confirmations of sealing. 999 signaling completion of old cycles, 1111 marking divine alignment, 444 reinforcing protection. And every time you see them after today, let them remind you that what was declared here did not fade when the video ended, it continued working in your life. This is where your participation matters, because protection is activated through agreement, and agreement is spoken through declaration. So wherever you are right now, take a breath, place your hand over your heart if you can, and receive this truth. Your home is covered, your family is guarded, your future is secure, and fear no longer has permission to lead your thoughts, your decisions, or your prayers. Speak life over your household, even when no one else hears you, because words spoken in faith build spiritual walls stronger than anxiety ever could. Someone listening right now is feeling an emotional release, like something heavy is finally lifting, and that's because your nervous system is responding to truth, to safety, to reassurance that has been missing for too long. And this release is not weakness, it's healing. God is reminding you that you were never meant to carry everything alone, that protection was always part of your story, and that the reason you survived seasons that should have broken you is because this moment, this year, was waiting for you on the other side. As you move forward from this message, walk differently, pray differently, love differently, and rest differently, not because circumstances are perfect, but because fear no longer defines your reality. And when challenges arise, remember this: you are not unguarded, you are not exposed, and you are not forgotten. Now hear this final promise. In the years ahead, you will look back on 2026 as the year everything changed quietly, the year protection replaced panic, the year peace became possible, and the year your family stepped into a safer, softer, stronger future. Before you leave, if this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you love, someone whose family needs covering, someone whose heart needs reassurance, because protection multiplies when faith is shared. And type Amen or I receive in your spirit as a declaration that you agree with what God has spoken today, because this message didn't just find you, it was assigned to you, and what's ahead is guarded, guided, and filled with purpose.